Is working at a ski season really worth the hype? In this video today, I'm going to chat to you about what it's like to come to Canada on a working holiday and get a job in a ski resort. We're going to have a chat about the pros, the cons. I'm going to go through a Q&A with you that my followers have sent in on Instagram, and we are going to chat about whether it's really worth it, what I think now that I have done one, and whether I would do it again. So let's get into it. If you're new to the channel, my name is Caitlin. If you are not, welcome back and thank you for being here. I've been living in Canada for the last year and a half. My partner and I moved over here in 2021 to do a ski season at Sunshine Village in Banff. By this point, I'm sure you're already looking into it, wondering why people are doing this, what the point is, whether it's worth it. So let's have a chat about it. If you're new here and it is your first time on my channel, please don't forget to subscribe. I will give you all the great facts about coming to Canada and doing working holiday or other travel tips. So don't forget to hit that button, but let's get into the video. So I'm going to start with the pros today, and obviously the biggest thing to consider is location. If you are moving here, ski resorts in Canada are based in some of the most beautiful locations that you can imagine. Coming from Australia, I have never really experienced snow and that sort of winter wonderland feel you get working over here, and I think that's what attracts so many people from different countries that don't have such a harsh winter. And one bonus of that is you get to wake up in these beautiful mountain locations. You might have ski in, ski out, staff accommodation, and you just get to be surrounded by mountains. You work, you live, you play in the mountains, and it is incredible. I think it is my favorite thing about working at a ski resort, and I think that is the number one reason so many people come to work here, the location. Along with that, you get the most incredible sunrises, sunsets. I'm sure you've all seen those aesthetic videos on Instagram where people are skiing down and it's sunrise or sunset, and those memories are just unbeatable. Another amazing reason to work at a ski resort is for the free season pass. So you get to come here, you get to ski, snowboard, play in this amazing landscape, and this is your life. This is your casual, this is where you go to work, it's where you go to play. Now, I did not know how to ski or snowboard before I came to Canada, and I think that is a thing that a lot of people are held back by, but that don't need to be. So I did go and try snowboarding a couple of times at home in Melbourne once we had already decided to come here, because I just wanted to make sure I didn't absolutely hate the sport. But when I got here, I really did not know how to ride, how to get on a board properly, anything like that. But when you're working at a ski hill, usually you get access to discounted lessons, you get discounts around the resort, and you get the free season pass. So what a better way to be able to go and practice, even if it's for only an hour a day. Or if you're an amazing skier and snowboarder, you get to get out there, perfect your skills, and really work on your craft as well. So I think it is an amazing opportunity to get out there, not have to pay for your experience, and to make the most of the mountains. One thing that comes along with that is your resort might offer ride breaks. Where I worked, we got ride breaks. It was always pending business levels. So if it was really busy, we definitely wouldn't get a ride break because our priority was to work and serve the customers. But if it was quiet, there is the potential for you to be able to clock off, go strap your board on, and go ski for an hour or two, which is a cool perk that you're not going to get in any other job. Next, working at a ski hill is an amazing way to make friends. So if you already want to travel, you love this lifestyle, and you're looking for something completely different from working at home in a typical job, everyone you're meeting at the ski hill is on the same boat as you. It's the best place to start because everyone has the same interests, and you are instantly going to make friends. Ski resorts have a really nice culture, I find, as well, for the most part, where everyone's inviting, everyone's welcoming, and you can hang out with those people outside of work, go to parties, have the social life, and it is a great place to start. Then you get up the next day and you go ride with them. On top of that, a lot of ski resorts offer staff accommodation. Now, if you are moving abroad, staff accommodation is the best way, I think, to get in and to not have to worry about where you're going to live and dive into this working holiday experience head first. Tristan and I started in a staff accommodation working at Sunshine Village. I have a whole nother video on my YouTube channel about that, so I'll link it in the description, what staff accom was like and kind of an explanation of what it's like in this area. But it's a really great way. It is usually quite heavily discounted compared to rental prices, and you get to live with, a bunch of your friends, depending on what accommodation style they have, and it's cheaper. So I think that's a great place to start 100% as well. And if you get to live up on the mountain, it is a great ski in, ski out opportunity, and you are going to get untouched views like no one else. Finally, working at a ski resort, you are typically going to get pretty consistent hours and pay. I have not personally worked from a part-time perspective at a ski resort, but working full-time, our hours were the same, our days off were the same. You're going to start at about $15 an hour as your base, that's the minimum here. And then working up, Tristan and I were both on supervisor roles, which was about between 17 and 19 an hour. And then we also got some tips working in the positions we're in. Otherwise, at least you are getting consistent hours every week. You are getting a consistent pay. It may not be amazing money, but at least it is solid income. Finally, you also get to live abroad. Now, I think a working holiday is the best thing you can do. I think especially if you are in your 20s, early 30s, even late teens, honestly, come and do it. Working and living abroad is the best experience you're ever going to have. You know, you are going to learn about yourself. You are going to meet so many new people. Now, I'm sure that all probably sounds incredibly amazing and you're ready to pack your bags and get over here, but there obviously are cons. Like working in any job, there are things that are not going to be amazing and that you need to consider before you pack up your life to move over here. Now, the first one is that you're probably going to be subject to some pretty extreme weather conditions. Working at a ski resort, there are options to work either inside or outside, so I think that is something you need to consider. For me, I don't think I could handle an outside job. I love the weather and I love getting out in it, but I like being able to go back in when I've had enough. Tristan, however, he did work a job that was part inside, part outside, and he handled it really well. For him, that was awesome. So you need to figure out what type of role you are prepared to take on, and are you prepared to be standing outside if you're working as a lifty for 8 hours a day? You obviously can go in and have breaks inside the warming huts and whatnot, but is an outside job something you're prepared to do if it's going to get down to minus 30, or do you strictly want an inside job? So weather conditions are very different. If you're working at a ski resort, it's going to be cold because it's snowing and that's how it works. But think about whether you are okay to deal with that. On top of that, I had a lot of questions about what it's really like working in the cold. So hang out for the Q&A and we'll get to that one in the next segment. One big misconception that we found coming over as well is that we thought we would actually have a lot more time to go riding than we did. Now, when you are working at the ski resort, we were really busy at the start, then we had a bit of lulls, then it was busy over Christmas, a little bit of a lull, then really busy for spring skiing. So that was kind of the ebb and flow at the resort we worked at. But we did think we were gonna have more time to ride than we did. So as I mentioned in the pros, there are potential for ride breaks, and it depends what sector you are working in as well. So we were in food and beverage, which may be a little different. I think maybe as a lifter, you might get more opportunity because you're already out there. Or if you're working ski patrol or trail crew or anything like that, I think there would be more opportunity as well. But depending on where you're working, there may not be as much opportunity for ride breaks as you expect. On top of that, you are working the full day that all the guests are at the resort. So you're going to be working. You need to be there to serve them. That is your job. You need to be committed to that. But that may mean on your days off, you have to come up to have a full day of riding. Following on from that point, those busy periods are often over holidays. So when I mentioned the ebbs and flows, whenever there is kids having time off school or Christmas or holidays like that, people are coming to the resorts, and that is going to mean that you have to work. In resorts, they have what they call blackout dates. Now, this is something I'd never heard of back at home in Australia, but I'd never done seasonal work, so it may be a thing as well. But these are dates that you are expected to work. You cannot request them off. That means you may not have as much time to go home and see family or do things like that, and that's something you need to be prepared for. Positive of that though, all your friends at the resort are going to be in the exact same position, so you can have a big friend miss once you're done work for the day. Another thing that we struggled with over winter was the daylight hours are so short. We would get up, we would get to work, we would start work, and it is still pitch black. So I think maybe at the peak of winter, the sun was rising about 9 a.m. I think it was starting to get light around then. And it's hard getting up when it's really cold, going to get the bus into work, and then getting up the gondola. It can be really difficult. That is something to be prepared for, is that the daylight hours are so short. We would get to work when it was dark and we would leave work when it was dark. So that is part of the lifestyle of a ski resort in winter, but something to be mindful of when you're preparing to come over here as well. Next up, as I mentioned, Although you're getting consistent hours, wages are quite low. So I gave you all the figures in the pro video, but if you're coming from somewhere like Australia, like we did, the wages here just are not comparable. So that's something you need to be prepared for as well. There's a couple more videos on our channel about money and how much it really costs to come over here. I'll link that in the description below for you as well. But it's something to be prepared for. It's kind of a trade-off. You're not getting a high wage, but you are getting these ski resort experiences. So is that something that you can balance? So there's that, a little bit of the pros, the cons, a bit of an insight into what our experience was like and what we found easy and amazing and what was hard as well. So before I give you my final overview on whether it's worth it working at a ski resort in Canada, let's get into a Q&A. So I put a question box up on YouTube and on my Instagram, and I've had a few people sending questions asking about ski resorts in Canada. So I'm going to answer those briefly for you. So the first question I got was, how did you find the job? And do you know in which months is better to apply? So first part of that, we got our jobs through the Working Holiday Club. We paid them, they helped us secure our jobs. It was quite an easy process. So you can go through different companies to help you do that experience. Otherwise, you can do it yourself just through like Indeed or the ski resort website as well. I think ski resorts start publishing those ads around June, July, I think, once the season is finished and they're starting to hire. If you go through a company though, I know you do get a bit of an earlier accessibility to those positions and you get streamlined. So I know, for example, the Working Holiday Club opened their applications in October for the following winter. So you can start working with them then. So that's almost a year in advance. Keep an eye out anytime. It depends what avenue you want to take, whether it's company or personal. But as soon as you know you want to go to a season, get in contact with those companies, whether it is the ski resort directly or a company you're paying to take you over there. As soon as you know, get in, you're going to get better job opportunities the sooner you are ready to go. The next question I got was, hey, do you reckon not being able to ski would significantly hinder your experience in Banff? Now, this depends if you are prepared to learn to ski or if it's absolutely off the cards for you. I think if you've never done it before and you are prepared to try, you are going to have an amazing time. There's so many people that come here that are not professionals. They come, they learn just like everyone else, and I think this is the best place to do it. I do think if skiing or snowboarding is not going to be a part of your winter experience, it might be a little bit difficult. I do have friends that have done it that for them, it wasn't about the skiing or snowboarding and they still have loved their Banff experience. But I do think try it if you can. I think it's so much fun and you're not going to be able to get those like amazing mountaintop views if you're not riding them. So I don't think it will hinder you and I think you should absolutely still come. There are so many other things to do other than skiing and snowboarding. Again, I have a video about that. I will link it in the description. But I think if you can, try it. See if you like it. Honestly, it is hard at the start, but the payoff is so worth it. Another question that said, how many hours were the shifts roughly? So for us, we were working full time, about 38, 40 hours a week. So that was for us about 8 to 5 approximately. But I think there are full part-time positions if that is something that you want to look into as well. I know people that did live on the hill and they worked nights instead. Or people that worked, early mornings just in like a coffee shop or something like that. So there is a bit of variety. For us, it was, the whole day, but you can see what you want to do and see if something fits for sure. I'm very keen to head to a ski hill this winter, but it would be good to know the best places to go. I'm going to give you a list of my favorite resorts and places I think that would be amazing for working holidays. Obviously, I have only done Banff and worked at Sunshine Village, but other ones I think are amazing is Whistler, obviously. I'm going to make a video about Banff versus Whistler and a few things to consider. But I think Whistler is amazing. Banff, obviously, is amazing. Revelstoke is a really beautiful small town. It is in BC, about 4 hours from Banff. Great little hill, bit of a smaller scale, but beautiful town as well. A lot of people seem to love doing seasons there. Fernie as well is a great place. One of our favorite ski hills. We put up a video when we went there for a day. Again, I'll link it in the description, but I think that is a really cool place as well. Quirky little fun town. Big White in Kelowna. Big White is a resort we really considered going to. The only thing that held us back is that it is an hour out of Kelowna. So Kelowna is the main town city in the middle of BC. And it is an hour from there with kind of nothing in between. Beautiful, beautiful resort. Like, loved it. One of my friends that I met on the working holiday experience worked there for the last 2 seasons. But yeah, it is a little bit more remote, but I do think that's a great opportunity as well. A few more of our favorite resorts were Red Mountain, Whitewater in Nelson, Silver Star, Sun Peaks. Honestly, you have so many options. I do think Banff, Whistler, and Big White are probably the big 3, but there are so many options. You don't have to fall into one of those categories, and all the resorts I just mentioned are amazing. Someone asked, which is the best resort in Banff? And now, if you don't know, there are 3 ski resorts in Banff: Sunshine Village, Lake Louise, and Norquay. Norquay is quite a small local hill. I haven't skied there, to be honest, but I do think that would be cool if you want something really, really close to town. Sunshine, I think, was wonderful, and then Lake Louise is actually my favorite hill to ride at. Honestly, Sunshine or Lake would be my 2 choices. Someone sent me a message and said, heading to Biggie and wondering, did you get sick of the cold much? Now, I think this is a question I get a lot. Even when I'm serving people in the summer, people ask about what it's like in winter and if the cold is unbearable. And honestly, I would say no. I think to live in a place like this and to get snow and wake up and things be so snowy, you know, and it's cold enough that the lakes freeze, I think that is amazing. It does suck when it gets down to -30, but I find those cold snaps kind of only last like 5 to 7 days at most. And that's what we experienced here over the last 2 winters, is that those cold snaps would just come in short bursts and then it would be gone again. So it was not consistently -30 all the time. I would say negative teens is kind of a more consistent range over winter. I'm sure you can Google all the weather stats if you want more in depth about it, but I don't think it is unbearable. I think you need the right clothes and the right jackets and a winter coat, but as long as you're well prepared, it is going to be a great experience regardless of how cold it is. On the note about weather, someone asked me, what is my least favorite thing? We're thinking of moving up to Banff from Calgary in November. Even though the weather is not that bad, my least favorite thing is when it gets down to -30. Anything kind of past -20, not amazing. It's not great riding conditions because the snow kind of freezes over too much. It gets a bit sticky and crunchy. It's not great. So just when it gets that cold is really not ideal. And then in terms of if that was related to working up at a ski resort, I think my least favorite thing was the travel to and from work. Honestly, we had to get up at like 6 a.m, bus 20 minutes to Sunshine Village, wait for the gondola to open, and then get a 20-minute gondola up to the top. And that whole time is not paid for. So that's almost an hour of transit door to door that you're doing each way. So I think that is not amazing. But again, it's a payoff. It's whatever experience you want to have, and then you get to be up there. So I think the travel to and from and the really cold weather are my least favorite things. What to do with extra luggage if you're going on a trip for a few weeks and can't store in your accommodation. Now, I don't see this being an issue because if you're paying for accommodation, you can store whatever you want in there as long as it is reasonable. The only thing you would have an issue with that is if you are transiting between places. So say if you're in staff accom, then you're going away for a few weeks and then you're moving into a new place and you don't have accommodation. In that case, I would just store with a friend. That is kind of going to be your best bet. But for the most part, if you have your own place, you can leave your stuff wherever you want to leave it. It is all yours. Is it better to work on the ski hill or to work in the hotel/ski town and skiing on days off instead? Now, if you've been following me for a long time, I think you'll see our opinion on this has kind of differed over the last 1.5 years. We loved working at the ski hill at first, and then we got jobs in town and we loved that more because then we worked the nights and we had all day to ride. I really think it just depends. Like the jobs we were in at the ski hill, we didn't get a whole lot of riding time. So for us, it was just, we only had our days off really. And then when we were working 5 days at the ski resort, we didn't really want to go back on our 2 days off to go ride. Yeah, if you've been following for a while, you know, for the spring skiing part, we ended up working in town so we could just ride as much as we could for the rest of the season, which was great. But I do think both opportunities are wonderful. Like I think to have that ski resort experience is so worthwhile. But then if you really just want to ride, then a nighttime job, whether that's at the ski hill or whether it's in town, is going to be your best bet, because once lifts are closed, you can't be riding anymore. So you can go work it then. So I think it really depends on what you want. Both are great options. We are doing the second one where we're working in the ski town at the moment, and then we go ride on our days off or before work. But I'm glad we did both. So I hope that's helpful, but I don't think one or the other is the perfect thing. It just depends on whatever's going to work for you. The final question I got is going to lead us into the last part of this video, where I'm going to talk about, do I think it is worth it? So based on all the information I've just given you, is working at a ski hill really worth the hype? And is it something I would do again? So for me, I would do it again. I don't think I would do it in Banff again. I've done it. I know what to expect here. But I think if an opportunity presented itself to go somewhere else in Canada or in Japan even, that's on the cards, or in Europe and do a ski season, I absolutely would. There are obviously things that we didn't like, but I do think working at a ski hill is worth, all this attention it's getting lately, and it is worth going. Coming over to Canada on this working holiday has been one of the best things we've ever done, and I think having this opportunity, to look back in 40 years and be like, yeah, I worked on a ski hill and I got to ride when it was quiet and do all of this stuff, is something you're never going to regret. I think it's just such an awesome opportunity. If you were already thinking about coming over here, you're halfway here. You've just got to commit and pack the bag and get over here. See if you like it. If you don't love one place, there are so many resorts around, so many different towns. They all have their own different vibes. So I'm sure you can find something that works for you. To conclude, I do think it is worth it. It is an amazing opportunity. You can only get working holiday visas between about 18 and 30 or 35, depending on your country. So make the most of those years. If you can come, I think you should. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video and it has been informative for you. Everything I referenced will be down in the description box below, past videos and everything else. If you have any more questions, please put them in the comment box. Or if you're watching this and you already have done a season and you have advice for anyone else, put it down below. I'm sure everyone would love to see it. And it's such useful information, right? Because we all have different experiences. But this has all been based on my experience, and I hope it has been helpful for you. Please don't forget to subscribe. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.